Welcome back to the Mindful Student Program with Dr. Chris Willard. As we come to the end of this program, we've explored ways to focus more effectively, to check in with the moment, to break through writer's block, to regulate and check in with our bodies and our breath so that we can optimize what's happening in terms of our physiology and push through even the most stressful circumstances with clarity, with focus, intention, and purpose. As we come to the end, I want to leave us with a brief self-compassion practice. Now, when I first heard this notion of self-compassion, it sounded, quite honestly, fairly soft, kind of wishy-washy to me. How is this going to be helpful? But the reality is, as I began to explore the research behind self-compassion in the scientific literature, as well as more closely examining my own experience, we all have that critical voice. Yes, even me, your teacher in this program, that voice that says, I'm not good enough. I'll never be a good enough student. I'll never get things done the way I want them to get done. I'm not a good enough writer. I'm not good looking enough. We all have that critical voice. Some of us, it's louder. Some of us, it might sound like caregivers or parents. For others, it might sound like teachers or bullies from childhood. For some of us, it might sound like the larger society, telling there's something wrong with us, that we don't belong, that we'll never measure up, that we will never amount to anything. In many ways, that voice can be helpful to us. It drives us to success. But what the research finds is that at some point, that voice starts to fail us. We start to beat ourselves up more, abuse ourselves almost. And we actually get less done. We're less effective. We take fewer risks. We start turning away from life. It makes us more anxious and more depressed. Now, maybe that day has come for you. And if you're a high-achieving person, it may not yet, but eventually it will. And I encourage you to explore this practice of the self-compassion break, which actually, in terms of the research, helps us to become more resilient in the face of setbacks, to become more motivated with a more compassionate inner voice rather than a critical one. So I hope that you'll explore this with me and try to utilize this or something like this at different points in your life, especially after a setback, a challenge, or even some kind of small mistake that you make in your life. Now, I'll ask you again to find yourself a comfortable posture, allowing your eyes to lower or to close. And I'm going to invite you to do something somewhat uncomfortable, to bring up a difficult moment in your life. Perhaps looking over the day or the past week. And I want you to find a small moment of imperfection, a small mistake, a moment you fell short. Maybe you lost your temper just a little bit with someone you care about. Maybe you didn't do quite as well or focus quite as hard as you wanted to, and you made a small mistake, whether it was in school or whether it was in making yourself dinner. Just pick something small in your life. That's what's important now. Just like strength training at the gym, we start with small weights and work our way up. So I'll invite you to start now with something small, if this is your first time doing this practice. So when you have that moment in mind, you can just begin to breathe with it, allowing the scene to become a bit more clear. What was the scene? Who was there? And checking in too with your body. How does your body feel as you bring this to mind? You might notice too that inner critic has already begun. And I'll invite you now just to name this challenging moment, just as if you would with a friend, a partner, a child. This is tough. This is a moment of suffering. This is hard. This is no fun. This is unpleasant. Find words, find a tone that feels authentic to you, that you would offer someone or that you would want to receive. This is painful. This is uncomfortable. Just describing, validating, acknowledging this. Perhaps there's a shift when you name it, perhaps not. And I'll invite you now, if it doesn't feel too strange, just place one hand over your heart or give yourself maybe even a gentle hug. Or just feel the warmth of your hands resting in your lap. Again, the way you might pull on a friend for a hug or a pat on the back. And acknowledging this connection to others. We think when we fall short that it's our imperfections somehow make us less than, when in fact our imperfections are what make us human. What words feel true to you? To say nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. We all feel inadequate. None of us is doing this perfectly. Not alone with this. Thousands of other students going through this. Thousands of others listening to this program. My professors have been through this. My friends have been through this. Dr. Willard from Harvard Medical School has been through this moment of making a mistake. The suffering, these mistakes, these are a part of life. We can't do it all. We can't do it perfectly. What are the words that feel true to you? Again, if it helps to imagine a friend or a child, colleague, what might you say to them? We all have tough days. Can't be perfect all the time. And then, lastly, some words that are simply offering yourself some kindness. Again, like you might someone you care about. May I forgive myself? May I let this go? May I be kind to myself? May I just move on from this? And if you do want to challenge yourself, may I learn from this? May I do differently next time? May I give myself another chance? If it feels strange, perhaps sending out that wish to all of the rest of us listening, and knowing that we're sending that wish to you and seeing if you can open to it. May you let this go. May you just be kind to yourself. May you learn. May I forgive myself. As we wind down this practice and this course, just reminding yourself that this is hard. Being a student is not easy. That it's hard for everyone. It's hard for all of us. Being a student is hard. Going into the working world is hard. Everything we do, it's challenging. None of us have it right. None of us do it perfectly. All of us feel inadequate, which doesn't mean that we are. And maybe we just all forgive ourselves and do the best we can. And you might raise your eyes now, let this practice fade. And again, checking in, has there been a shift for you? This can often feel strange to a lot of us the first time we do something like this. First time that we're kind to ourselves. For some of us, it's the first time we've experienced this kind of kindness from ourselves or from someone else. And trust me, if nothing else, this can feel soft. This can feel like perhaps it's not helpful or not holding us to a higher standard. But what we found again and again in the research is that this actually helps us to succeed more, to take bigger, better risks, to bounce back faster, and to do better next time. So I want to thank you for participating in this program. Please come back to these practices in order that they're set in the program, or find which ones work or most resonate for you, for what you need on a daily basis. Keep coming back to it. Thank you for using Ultrahuman. My name is Christopher Willard, and please feel free to stay in touch with me over time. And of course, I wish you the very best. I wish you much mindfulness. I wish you much self-forgiveness. I wish you much success and focus and self-regulation, ease in mind, body. So thank you again for participating in this program.